Chosen one, this message is not for everyone, and you already feel that. Your life carries weight, your presence shifts atmospheres, your energy moves things that others don't even perceive, and that is exactly why what is harmless for most people can be dangerous for you. You don't live a random life, you walk with a calling, and because of that the enemy doesn't rush you, he observes you. He studies your habits, your compassion, your moments of kindness, and then he waits patiently for a small opening, a subtle gesture, something that looks generous, innocent, even loving. And through that unnoticed door, he tries to step in. This is why today's message matters. Today you will discover 3 things you should never lend to anyone, not because you are cold, not because you are selfish, but because protection is part of your assignment. And listen carefully, because the third one is ignored by almost everyone, even spiritually aware people, and that is exactly why it causes so much silent damage. Stay fully present, because this understanding can close doors you didn't even know were open. If you feel this message is speaking directly to you, pause for a second, press like as a sign of alignment, subscribe if you haven't yet so you stay under this stream of revelation, and comment 99 below. Spiritually, 99 represents completion before transition, the moment right before elevation, and by writing it, you're declaring that what drains you stops here, and what protects you begins now. The first thing you should never lend, no matter how harmless it sounds, no matter how normal society has made it feel, is your pillow. At first, this feels almost ridiculous, like something too small to matter, and that is exactly why it works. The most dangerous doors are never labeled as threats. Your pillow is not just something you rest your head on, it is the one object that witnesses you when no one else does. It receives you when your defenses are down, when your body shuts off, and your spirit loosens its grip on the physical world. Every night, without you realizing, your pillow becomes a silent container. It absorbs your breath slowing down, your thoughts unraveling, your worries replaying themselves one last time before sleep takes you. It holds the weight of the prayers you don't say out loud, the tears you wipe away quickly, the fears you would never admit to anyone during the day. And here is what most people don't understand. Sleep is not neutral. It is a passage. When you sleep, your conscious control fades, and your inner world becomes more accessible. That is why clarity sometimes comes in dreams. That is why warnings sometimes arrive symbolically. And that is also why confusion, anxiety, and disturbance can enter so quietly. Your pillow sits exactly at the intersection between your mind and your spirit during that vulnerable state. It becomes a sponge, not just for emotion, but for imprint. Every night you use it, it learns you, your rhythm, your tension, your release. Now imagine what happens when someone else places their head there. You are not just sharing fabric, you are allowing another inner world to overlap with yours. Their unresolved thoughts, their emotional residue, their spiritual state at rest. And the danger is not always obvious darkness. Sometimes it's heaviness, sometimes it's restlessness. Sometimes it's a subtle disruption that shows up days later as mental fog, strange dreams, unexplained anxiety, or a sense that your peace has been diluted. Chosen ones feel this more intensely because your inner world is already active. Your sensitivity is not a weakness, it is a function. You are designed to receive, to discern, to process layers that others never touch. That is why something as small as a pillow can become a point of interference. Many chosen ones notice this pattern without ever connecting the dots. They host someone, they travel, they switch sleeping arrangements, and suddenly their nights feel different. Sleep becomes lighter, dreams become chaotic, thoughts loop without reason. And because the mind wants logic, you blame stress, work, exhaustion, anything but the real cause. But spiritual interference rarely announces itself. It blends in. Protection is not always about fighting. Sometimes it is simply about not opening the door. This is why discernment must exist even in your kindness. Offering comfort does not require offering access to what carries your imprint. A pillow is intimate, it is personal, it is energetically informed by your inner life. And once that boundary is crossed, the effect is rarely immediate. It lingers, it echoes, it settles in places you don't think to check. And here is the part most people never expect. Sometimes the disturbance doesn't come from who used it last. Sometimes it comes from what you absorbed without realizing it. And it waits for the right moment to surface. And as subtle as this sounds, this is only the first layer. Because if something this simple can influence your peace so deeply, what do you think happens with what comes next? The second thing you should never lend is anything connected to your faith, and this is where the line between the visible and the invisible becomes dangerously thin. Most people look at prayer objects and see symbols, habits, traditions, something cultural or sentimental. But for you, this is not symbolic, this is operational. These are not decorations placed near your life, they are instruments that actively participate in it. Every time you pray, something moves. Not metaphorically, but spiritually. Your words don't disappear into the air. They impress themselves into what you hold, what you touch, what you return to again and again in moments of surrender. Over time, these objects become charged, not with magic, but with alignment. They hold the residue of desperation, hope, repentance, gratitude, and faith exercised under pressure. That is why they feel different in your hands than in someone else's. They respond to you because they've been shaped by your inner posture. And this is where the danger begins. When you lend something connected to your faith, you are not lending material. You are lending access. You are allowing another intention to interact with something that has learned your spiritual language. And intentions matter more than actions. Someone can look clean on the outside and still operate from jealousy. Someone can smile and still carry resentment. Someone can speak about God and still move from ego, manipulation, or spiritual hunger without discipline. Sacred things do not neutralize wrong intention. They amplify whatever touches them. That is why they must be guarded. When another person uses what carries your faith, they imprint it with their emotional state, their inner motives, their unresolved conflicts. And when that object returns to you, it may feel subtly wrong, not broken, not obviously corrupted, just quieter, heavier, less responsive. You try to pray, and the flow feels interrupted. The connection feels delayed. The peace that once arrived quickly now takes effort. Many chosen ones experience this and blame themselves. They think they've lost faith, that they are distracted, that something inside them changed. But sometimes the shift didn't start within you. It entered through something you thought was harmless to share. The sacred requires stewardship. Not everyone who asks for access is meant to receive it. And this is not about judgment, it is about order. Spiritual tools function best when they are aligned to a single assignment. When they are passed around, their clarity blurs. The most dangerous contamination is not overt darkness, it is mixture. A little belief mixed with doubt. A little reverence mixed with resentment. A little surrender mixed with control. This mixture doesn't explode. It slowly dulls, and dull tools are the most dangerous because you don't notice the damage until something critical fails. That is why what protects you must remain personal. Not secret, but specific. Not hidden, but honored. You can help others without handing them what carries your battles. You can guide without giving away your armor. And here is the part that unsettles most people. Sometimes the moment you feel spiritually exposed, unfocused, or disconnected, it is not because your faith weakened, but because something that once stood guard was temporarily displaced. And once you realize that, the next revelation becomes unavoidable. The third thing most people ignore, dismiss, or underestimate is clothing that touches your body regularly. And this one is dangerous precisely because it feels so normal. Society treats clothes as neutral, replaceable, meaningless, but your body is not neutral, and anything that stays close to it cannot be either. Your body is a vessel, not in a poetic sense, but in a functional one. It carries your presence, your frequency, your spiritual signature, and everything that remains in contact with it learns that signature over time. Clothes don't just cover you, they adapt to you. They absorb your posture, your tension, your release, your emotional cycles, your inner weather. Especially the items you wear often, the ones that touch your skin for hours, the ones that stay with you during stress, prayer, exhaustion, vulnerability, and transition. Those fabrics become witnesses. They register your emotional temperature. They store impressions from moments when you were strong and moments when you were barely holding yourself together. And here is what almost no one is taught. When you lend these items, you are not just exchanging fabric, you are allowing an overlap of fields. Your spiritual atmosphere meets someone else's. Their emotional state presses against something that already carries yours. And that exchange does not cancel out, it layers. That is why chosen ones often feel sudden shifts that make no sense on the surface. A heaviness that arrives without a reason, a sadness that doesn't belong to any current event, fatigue that sleep doesn't fix, irritation that feels foreign, and because the mind wants explanations, you blame work, hormones, stress, seasons, anything except the subtle door that was opened through something shared without discernment. Sometimes the door wasn't trauma. Sometimes it wasn't an attack. Sometimes it was a simple gesture that crossed an invisible boundary. What makes this especially critical for chosen ones is your sensitivity. You don't just experience your own emotional field, you perceive fluctuations. Your system is tuned to pick up changes. That is part of your design. But it also means that when something unfamiliar enters your field, your body reacts before your logic does. You feel it before you understand it. And because clothes sit directly against your skin, they act as conductors. They don't judge what they carry. They don't filter intention. They simply hold and transfer. When someone wears what has been close to you, their unresolved emotions, their inner conflicts, their suppressed states interact with what that item already contains. And when it returns, it doesn't come back empty. It comes back altered, not ruined, not cursed, just misaligned. Enough to disrupt your equilibrium, enough to create static, enough to interfere with clarity. And here is the unsettling part. The effect is often delayed. It doesn't hit immediately. It waits. It blends in. It shows up when you least expect it, when your guard is down, when you need clarity the most. That's why this pattern goes unnoticed for so long. And yet once you see it, you can't unsee it. What touches your body touches your spiritual field. There is no separation. There is no neutral zone. And if something as everyday as clothing can influence your state this deeply, then the final realization should already be forming in your mind, because what comes next is not about objects at all. It's about why chosen ones are affected at a level others never feel until it's too late. Why are others able to lend these things and feel nothing, while you notice shifts immediately, sometimes painfully, sometimes confusingly, sometimes without being able to explain it at all? This is where many chosen ones begin to doubt themselves, thinking they are overreacting, too sensitive, imagining problems that aren't real. But the truth is simpler and far more unsettling. You are not reacting more, you are perceiving more. Chosen ones operate on a different frequency, and frequency determines what you register. A radio tuned to static won't hear a whisper. A finely tuned receiver will pick up everything, even signals others walk past every day without noticing. Your system is built to detect subtle changes, spiritual inconsistencies, energetic shifts that don't belong. That is not a flaw, that is a function. And because of that, small doors are enough. The enemy does not need chaos to reach you. He does not need drama, destruction, or obvious confrontation. In fact, those methods rarely work on chosen ones anymore. You've survived too much, you've grown too aware, so the strategy changes. It becomes quiet, strategic, almost polite. It hides behind kindness, behind social norms, behind expectations of generosity and availability. It waits for moments when you lower your guard because you think there is no reason not to. And this is where the misunderstanding happens. You assume protection only matters in extreme situations. You think boundaries are only necessary around obvious threats. But for you, interference doesn't come screaming. It slips in. It attaches itself to routines. It blends into normal life. And because you are sensed differently, those subtle intrusions register in your body and mind before they register anywhere else. You feel tired before you know why. You feel off before you can name it. You feel disconnected before anything visibly breaks. Others can brush these things off because their inner system isn't designed to process layered information, but yours is. You carry awareness even when you wish you didn't. And here's the part that reframes everything. Being targeted differently doesn't mean you are weak. It means you are relevant. No one studies what doesn't matter. No one adapts strategies for something insignificant. The enemy prefers subtlety over confrontation because confrontation alerts you. Subtlety disarms you. It bypasses your defenses by appealing to your compassion, your openness, your desire to do good. Generosity without discernment becomes dangerous, not because generosity is wrong, but because discernment is missing. Awareness is the balance point. This message is not here to make you suspicious of everyone or fearful of the world. Fear collapses perception. Awareness sharpens it. Fear makes you close. Awareness teaches you when to open and when to guard. There is a difference between being available and being exposed. Chosen ones often confuse the two because they are taught that love means access. But love also includes protection, especially self-protection. And here is what most people never realize until much later. The reason these small exchanges affect you so deeply is because you are carrying something that must remain coherent. Your clarity, your peace, your alignment, they are not luxuries. They are requirements for your path. When they are disrupted, your entire life feels heavier, slower, noisier. That is why even small disturbances matter. That is why small doors are enough. And once you understand this, the final layer becomes impossible to ignore, because awareness alone is not enough. Knowing why you are affected is only the beginning. What truly changes everything is understanding what you must do with that awareness before another door opens quietly behind you. Discernment is not selfishness, and this misunderstanding has cost many chosen ones their peace, their clarity, and sometimes years of unnecessary struggle. You were never called to isolate yourself, disappear from people, or build walls out of fear. Isolation weakens you, bitterness distorts you. That is not your path. Your calling is far more precise. You are called to protect what is sacred without closing your heart, and that balance is rare. Most people swing to extremes. They either give everything away and feel drained, or they shut down completely and feel disconnected. A chosen one must walk the narrow line between generosity and wisdom. Helping is not the same as exposing yourself. Support is not the same as surrendering access. Love does not require the abandonment of boundaries. In fact, love without boundaries becomes self-betrayal. This is where many chosen ones were conditioned incorrectly. You were taught that saying no is rejection, that protecting yourself is pride, that guarding your space is coldness. But discernment is none of those things. Discernment is intelligence applied to compassion. It is awareness in motion. It is knowing that not every request deserves the same answer, and not every need requires the same response. When you give without discernment, you don't become more loving, you become fragmented. Pieces of you end up scattered in places they were never meant to stay. That is why you sometimes feel like parts of you are missing, like you've been diluted over time. It didn't happen all at once. It happened in moments where you gave what should have been guarded because you didn't want to seem difficult, distant, or unkind. A chosen one must be generous, but never careless. Carelessness is not innocence. It is vulnerability without wisdom, and wisdom is not suspicion, it is clarity. Wisdom knows that sacred things lose power when treated as common. Wisdom understands that access must be earned through alignment, not demanded through proximity. You can help without handing over what sustains you. You can listen without absorbing. You can support without opening your inner gates. And this is where the shift happens. The moment you stop explaining your boundaries, the moment you stop justifying your discernment, the moment you understand that protecting your energy, your faith, your rest, and your body is not a personal preference, it is a responsibility tied to your calling. When you guard what is sacred, you don't become smaller, you become clearer. Your yes gains weight because your no exists. Your presence becomes stronger because it is no longer scattered. And people feel it. Not everyone will like it. Not everyone will understand it. But those who are meant to walk with you will respect it instinctively. Discernment simplifies your life. It removes confusion. It shortens recovery time. It keeps your inner world coherent. And here is the quiet truth most chosen ones only realize after losing too much. Every time you guard what matters, you send a signal, not to people, but to the unseen. You declare that what was entrusted to you will not be mishandled. That declaration changes how doors respond to you. It changes what lingers and what leaves. It changes what can stay and what cannot. And once you step into that posture, something shifts permanently. Because discernment doesn't just protect you from loss, it prepares you for what comes next. And the final realization of this message will bring all of this together in a way you may not be ready for yet, but you are closer than you think. Chosen one, hear this clearly and let it settle deeper than thought. What is an object for others can become a spiritual bridge for you, not because you are fragile, but because you are open. And openness without awareness is exposure. Your peace is not accidental. Your energy is not random. Your calling is not light. It carries consequence, weight, responsibility. That is why your life reacts where others feel nothing. That is why small choices echo louder in your world. From this moment forward, you are not called to be harder, colder, or closed, but sharper, clearer, and aligned. Discernment is now part of your movement. Not everything should be shared. Not everything should be lent. Not everyone should be given access to what sustains you. This is not withdrawal. This is elevation. When you guard what is sacred, you don't lose love, you refine it. When you protect your inner world, you don't shrink, you stabilize. And stability is power. If this message resonated with you, it's because it touched something you couldn't explain before. Patterns you felt but never named. Shifts you noticed but never understood. And if you are still here, listening to this final moment, it is because God has been protecting you quietly, even when you didn't realize it, even when doors were open longer than they should have been. This awareness is not coming late. It is coming right on time. Today is not about fear. Today is about authority. The authority to choose what enters your space. The authority to decide what stays close to you. The authority to honor what was entrusted to you. You were warned not to scare you, but to prepare you. You were chosen not to be careless, but to be conscious. And now you are aware, and awareness changes everything. If you feel this truth in your spirit, comment this phrase now: I guard what is sacred. Write it as a declaration, not for the algorithm, but as a seal. Let it mark a boundary in the unseen. Share this message with someone you know carries weight, but doesn't yet understand why life responds to them so intensely. And remember this when you move forward. Chosen ones don't lose their power suddenly. They leak it slowly when they forget its value. Today, that ends. Guard what is sacred. Walk with clarity. Stay awake.